Professional women have got money.
Yes.
They don't need a man for money. And men needs to accept that society is different today.
Yeah.
You know, that women will do better than you, but they do need something from you.
Yeah.
There's 4 men out of 1 woman that would commit suicide. There's 4. So they would be a more higher rate of men.
Higher rate of men committing
suicide than women. 4 out of 1, yes.
Why is that the case?
Because men, the key thing of men is respect.
Yeah.
Or the guy would say, look, I can live with you. I can live with someone that earns double my salary.
Yeah.
I can live with you. I can live with that.
Yeah.
But I would need from you to discuss everything with me because I still feel I'm the man.
Yeah.
You know,
those things are neutral. They have implications for relationships.
We need to understand that 50-50 doesn't always work when you have life challenges.
Yeah. What can men and women do out there to get better? Fellow citizens, welcome to another episode of Citizens Talk, where we have conversations that matter, that over time, they will change the course of history. You'll remember that we have been having a number of conversations about the politics of the country, the economy, education, and many of those details you can find on our website, citizens.org. But we added another pillar where we focus on the overall wellness. We said our primary target is the professionals and the youth, but we can talk to them about politics and money all we like until we understand what happens back at home. Because these are human beings who bring their emotions to the business, to the work. And we are bringing in an important element of understanding the mental wellness of citizens out there. We are not experts in this space, and today I would like to introduce you to Dr. Merlyn Saunders, who is a psychologist, and she's going to be helping us unpack this whole issue of wellness that is bubbling out there, and the consequences of it may be felt in families and in workplaces. Welcome to Citizens Talk, Dr. M. I'm going to call you Dr. M because everyone seems to be calling you Dr. M.
Thank you so much, Jan, for this opportunity.
Thank you. Tell us a bit more about your practice.
Yeah, a little bit about my history. I used to work at the Teddy Bear Clinic for Abused Children. I used to prepare children to testify in a criminal court on cases of rape and sexual abuse. And then for 10 years, I worked in a township in East Rand. So there I dealt with all kinds of cases. You can't be selective in a township.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I just gained a lot more of my experience. And now I'm in a private practice for about 6 years in Midrand.
All right.
Yes.
What is the name of your practice called? So that if people want to find you.
Saunders Practice or Merlyn Saunders Practice.
All right. Yes. And
everyone
calls you Dr. M.
Yes.
You are a psychologist.
A counselling psychologist.
A counselling psychologist.
Yes.
And how does one become a counselling psychologist so that people understand, the process, the qualifications required?
Yes, I think you've got to do your BA psychology major and then your honors in psychology. And I think you need to have, I did mine a while back.
Yeah.
But I think you need to have between 65 and 70%, if it's still the same,
to
get into masters. But the selection criteria is very tight.
Quite tough. Yeah.
And I think students become very disheartened.
Yeah.
About what next if I can't get into masters.
Yeah.
And I think the issue there is that you don't have a lot of places where they can do their practicals.
Yeah.
So if university if they've only registered with 5 places, then you can only accept more or less 5.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's actually the
that's
concern.
the path.
Yes.
Yeah.
So. There's quite a lot out there that would like to be psychologists, but that's usually the way. And I usually say do two majors, so that you can always switch to another, if you don't get into masters.
Yeah.
But masters is the criteria to get into to becoming a psychologist.
Yeah. There is quite a lot I would like us to touch on now. We might not be able to cover everything. So we are going to talk about mental wellness overall, and it's obviously always dangerous to generalize, but I want to pick on what are the trends. What are men dealing with out there, and what are women dealing with?
Yes.
We'll then talk about the relationships, because the men and the women don't live on their own. And then, of course, we'll talk about further in the relationships. We'll talk about what happens in families.
Yes.
We'll talk hopefully about children, why every child now is on ADHD or ADD
or depression.
Depression. And then, of course, the role of technology in that. So we'll touch on that. But because our primary audience, now, of course, we'll talk about why women seems to be struggling to find partners, especially professional women. People must look out for that. And then specifically for professionals, they show up at the workplace. So I want to understand what they're dealing with, the imposter syndrome, working women who are really changing their generational setup, and what does that mean for families?
Yes.
So let's see how much of that we cover. I'm going to be doing less of the talking and leave the experts to do most of the talking. So let's start with, in your practice, among your colleagues, your peers, what are you seeing as trends when it comes to mental wellness of South Africans?
Yes. I think the pressure of I'm going to talk about married women because I deal mostly. You have the single women that have high-pressured positions in companies where they are expected to perform in a particular way. And, you would find perhaps an accountant would tell me, Merlyn, I sometimes work till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I'm still expected to perform the next day. And that is in corporate. The expectations are very high.
Yeah.
And are very exhausting. And some companies are focused on mental wellness, but they don't make sure that their staff take time out.
Yeah.
So they still expect performance, but if you're tired and you are suffering depression, then go and see, we've got a mental wellness center.
Yeah.
But I think it would be good if managers were able to make sure that they do that, because you're always wanting to please the boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you find a lot more now that you have single moms in the industry.
Yeah.
And it's scary when you're a single mom and you're told by your manager that, look, you don't want to lose this job, you've got children, so just do what I ask you to do.
But
the fear of losing your job now that you don't have a husband or a partner means that you have to perform more than before. And then you come home and then you've got to see to schoolwork and you've got to see to expectations and recreation. So that is also high risk of depression, because you are burning out your stresses and
Yeah. So are you seeing growing numbers of depressions then? So are people coming out to seek help?
People are sometimes in denial at first. So they would say, I don't have depression until, from my case, until a manager would say, you need to go and see a professional.
Yeah.
And then they would normally come.
Yeah.
But there are those who have been diagnosed for years, and so they will be able to observe their own behavior and their own thoughts, and they will be able to gauge, okay, now it's time to go see a psychologist, or it's now time to go see a psychiatrist.
Yeah. And our family's understanding of this new expectations and the workload. So, a woman who's going into senior management in corporate, do you find that they find a supporting environment at home? Are the expectations at home changing to accommodate that?
Remember, we're in Johannesburg, we're in Gauteng, and a lot of people working in Gauteng, most of the families are Eastern Cape.
Yeah, we are all migrant workers
in other provinces. Yeah. And a lot of my cases, there's very little support.
Yeah.
And even if they have partners, the partners are also leaning on them as well at times.
Yeah.
For help and for assistance. And so they find that Yeah, it becomes very exhausting.
Yeah.
And when your brain is not able to produce neurotransmitters
Yeah.
because of extreme stress, then you need to go on medication.
Yeah.
Dopamine, serotonin, those neurotransmitters, the chemicals to produce feelings of feeling happy or not happy, but feeling a little bit normal and feeling stronger. And they call it happy pills, but it's not. It doesn't make you happy. Others, I think, I would also go on it. We all would go on happy pill, but it's just a comment that they use. Are you on the happy pill? It's not actually. It just helps you to work through your daily stresses.
Yeah.
And make you feel more normalized. Yes.
And that seems to have implications on relationships between men and women, because I don't know if this is borne by statistics, but the growing trend of successful women who cannot find suitable partners, and they're either on their own or they are single parent. Is that a trend? And if it is, what is the driver? Are men chicken?
I think that the professional women are more careful. A lot of them have children.
Yeah.
They're also careful of infidelity. That's quite common. There's always a guy that has a side chick.
Yeah.
Some married men don't tell the women that they are married and they fall in love with a married man. So that is society today, there's a lot of mistrust.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. It's not only the fact that I need someone with degrees, because remember, they've got money.
Yes.
Professional women have got money.
Yes.
They don't need a man for money.
What do they need? What do women want? What do they need a man for?
Women need someone just to love them for who they are.
Yeah.
And to be able to communicate and work through issues. And
are men failing at that?
Men are always seems to lean on shame. They're always, like, women realize, look, I'm short of this and I'm short of that. So we don't lean heavily on shame.
Yeah.
But coming from the traditional background, remember where men were the providers, you were raised by your mkulu and you said, you know what, you must man up.
Yeah.
You must pay for this and you must pay for that.
Yeah.
So you've been groomed as a young man into adulthood that I need to be the provider.
Yeah.
And with the BBEEE implementation, where they needed to
more women in the workplace,
to redirect the inequality of the past, more women are getting jobs.
Yeah.
And men are not getting they can't get into the job. But you remember the quote?
No, there's more. Yes, absolutely.
For accepting employment, it's the females first and the black females first.
Yeah.
So men are challenged now with, okay, so I've been raised as this traditional man that needs to provide.
The provider, yeah.
Now, a woman from the workplace, she's used to being in command, in a sense. She's used to running a huge company or a huge department.
Yeah.
She's got skills to do that.
Yeah.
And when they come home, some needs to switch off and some don't.
Yeah.
So they still have that authoritative way about them.
Yeah.
But when they get love and attention, it actually lowers that. It's because they're lacking that love and attention. They stay in that Zoom, that control feeling. If I feel in control with my emotions where I'm at, then I'm safe.
And they still are expected to deal.
And men needs to accept that society is different today.
Yeah.
That women will do better than you, but they do need something from you.
Yeah.
If they don't need money, what do they need? And they need to listen to, every woman needs different things. And a lot of them that I've seen would tell me, Merlyn, I can buy my own car, but I mean, now he's intimidated because I'm buying this amazing car and he doesn't drive that car. It is that kind of challenges that the business women have and the professional women have is, can I just be me? Can you just love me for who I am?
Yeah.
Some women, there are men that are economic abusers. And let me explain to you about what is an economic abuser.
Yeah.
An economic abuser is someone that will spot a woman over 30.
Yeah.
She's a professional, and maybe she doesn't have children.
Yeah.
So he knows she wants babies.
Yeah.
The time clock is ticking, and she wants to get married. She's over 30. An economic abuser is someone that pretends to be very successful.
Yeah.
So he'll pull up with his car, and she'll hear him talk about tenders of R1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? This guy's cool. I don't have to take care of him. He's fine. I can do me, or if I have one child or two, I can do me and my children.
Yeah.
He's well taken care of. But an economic abuser is lying.
Yeah.
He's giving the impression that he has.
Yeah.
So what he does, like a month later, and you remember R1 million is coming. You heard me talking to this guy.
Yeah.
Do you mind? I need 50,000.
Yeah.
I'll give it back to you. She's in love. This guy's smart. He drives a smart car. He's kind. He's doing all the things that she wants.
Yeah. Wasn't that the Tinder? What was it called? There was a show.
Is it?
Where some Tinder swindler.
Oh.
There was a Tinder
show.
swindler. So someone who went on to look, try and find this professional woman and, like you say, show up with a private jet, forget the car.
And then you will see 3 months later, his car's in the garage.
Yeah.
And it was a write-off and it was almost dead. And now, I'm still waiting for my money.
Yeah.
From government. And then can I move in? And then the abuse starts.
Yeah.
The economic abuse. It means that now he's asking for more money.
What do men want?
Asking more money from this professional woman.
Yeah.
So, the society is hardly talking about the economic abuser.
Yeah.
But then you find genuinely a guy that's genuine. I mean, he's been, a hard worker. I want to give both sides. It doesn't look like every man is an economic abuser.
Yeah.
He was a manager and he was laid off and retrenched. And now he doesn't have.
Yeah.
And that can also lead to depression because
Yeah.
I've got this high-flying, successful partner that I'm living with.
Yeah.
I have got nothing to give her.
Yeah.
And the more he's applying and the more she's putting pressure on him, you need to go out and look. And he's trying.
Yeah.
That is when he starts, his mood changes and his behavior changes.
Yeah.
That's when you will find depression might set in.
And then maybe potentially a driver to gender-based violence that happens in homes.
That can also happen in homes.
Yeah.
I think that men has anger problems. There are triggers that causes this. But some men are just, you'd find sometimes a man would say to me, Merlyn, I've never smacked a woman in my life.
Yeah.
Never. Why has this happened now?
Yeah.
So not all are abusers, physical abusers. It happened once.
Yeah.
And it happened the first time. But if there's a pattern of abuse, then we can say you are a physical abuser. There's patterns, you have a history of. Previous ladies have complained about it.
Yeah.
And it's often when you've been exposed to so much violence that it's a norm.
Yeah.
So you grow up perhaps in an environment where beating mom became the norm.
Yeah.
Or you're living in a township where there's gangsterism.
Yeah.
And you're exposed to actual violence.
Yeah.
And my auntie, you would hear, oh, my uncle smacked my aunt, but they're happy together today. So kids are very confused about.
It seems to be.
You smacked my
normal.
auntie, but auntie's hugging him and kissing him. There isn't that.
Yeah.
So you learn different things in society. But I think when you've been exposed to so much violence, it's important to go for therapy because you get lots of fears and triggers that happen. So, for example, if you find that you watch daddy walking out out on mom and you're standing by the window and daddy's been amazing. He's been always positive in your life. He's been telling you how you should become successful. He's been that support.
Yeah.
He's the man and you have the son.
Yeah.
And now you see daddy walking out and you haven't dealt with that.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can't see daddy so much anymore because daddy's got a girlfriend and the demands of work, blah, blah, blah. And I think when you're living with a partner or you're married and the girl and the wife says, Look, I think I've had enough.
Yeah.
I've just had enough of this. She doesn't mean that I want a divorce tomorrow, but it's a huge trigger for a man.
Yeah.
And triggers create anger as well.
It creates more anger. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that I found family at last.
Yeah.
With mom and dad divorced, they had their own husbands and wives. Now I have family. I have a wife with kids. And
Yeah.
now it sets in
Yeah.
that I'm going to lose this. So it's bigger for some men
Yeah.
than it is for others. Other men would say,
Yeah.
okay, just pack your bags and go, it's not a problem. But
also
for some men, it is so frightening. You know,
absolutely. There are also no generational role models because, you know, the current parents, many of them are a generation that has never seen normal functioning families. Remember, largely this is the generation where the father was a migrant worker in the mine somewhere in the city.
Yes.
So it's new, right?
Yeah.
So I think that also comes with its own pressures. What do men want in a relationship? Because I'm getting a good sense of what women, we will try and see how we bring this together.
You know,
where is the mismatch?
You from my experience, there are fewer men that want a relationship.
Yeah.
A genuine relationship.
But why?
To work on a long-term relationship and marriage.
But why?
Women want that. Women want that long-term relationship. Men, there are many reasons.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to start with one. Fear of commitment. Fear of control.
Yeah.
So and I want to make an example where, a couple was living together for 10, 12 years. I think the child was becoming now a teenager, and the wife said, no, I think we need to marry. I mean, need to get married, it's a long time. And he got married to her, and then he was told, you need to come home now at 10 o'clock, you're a married man.
Yeah.
And he said, now you're sounding like my mother.
Yeah.
If I'd known I have to come in at 10 o'clock on a weekend, I would not have married you.
Yeah.
So women have their idea of what they need in a marriage, and a man has his idea. And it's quite different from man to man and woman to woman. But that is why I always suggest with couples before you move in or before you get married, that you lay out your expectations. This is what I expect from you.
Yeah.
And not assume that because you're female, that you will be able to do the pap and gravy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of women today that's not going to do the pap and gravy.
Why?
A lot of them have not been, so you'd find that, let's say, for example, mom is the entrepreneur and she travels all the way, right? Different provinces. That's mom.
Yeah.
She's the entrepreneur. Dad lost his job and dad's at home for years, right? So he's taking care of the home, and that's cool. When a husband can accept, I have my role now, it's different, and it's still valuable.
Yeah.
Dads don't train daughters how to cook.
Yeah.
They spoil daughters. Moms usually do that. So you'll find, and I had a case where the partner would sit in front of the TV and he comes home, he's working, and she would say, what are we having for supper?
Yeah.
And he would say, Merlyn, how does it happen? Didn't the mom teach her anything? And I said, her mom is probably the entrepreneur in the home.
Yeah.
And it worked out that way. So we are talking about scenarios, but it's not everyone that fits into the scenarios that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But a lot of women are saying, if I can marry a chef, I can go for that because I don't want to cook. I don't want to cook every day.
Will be taken care
because
of,
women are focusing on the job and they're studying, and similarly with men as well.
Yes.
The job, studying, children, there's just so much going on that they don't want to cook every day. They'll just,
But what is then driving the high levels of suicide trends, especially among men? I mean,
they said that men would commit suicide four men would in one woman, over one woman. So every fourth there's 4 men out of one woman that would commit suicide. There's 4. So they would be a more higher rate of men.
Higher rate of men committing
suicide than women. 4 out of 1, yes.
Why is that the case?
Because men, the key thing of men is respect.
Yeah.
That drives a man. Almost every couple that I see, the man will always say, Merlyn, she just doesn't know how to respect me.
Yeah.
And remember, respect differs from man to man, right? You would find someone in KZN, very traditional, right?
Yeah.
Would have the bowl of water, would have their soapy water and the cloth. But that same Zulu lady, the Zulu wife, would not do the same in Gauteng, in the city.
But why?
Because now there's a tap, Jan, down the passage.
but
in the rural area, there was no tap, remember?
Of course, but
so she's going to tell her husband, there's a tap down the passage.
But the husband is communicating that this means respect to me. Forget the tap. This is what it means. So
can I answer that before you continue, if
Dr.
you don't mind?
Let me give you an extreme example, right? Today in the city, you've got people, some of the people have abandoned their cars, they use Uber and all of that, right? So, because they're like, it works for me. I don't need to own a car that I hardly use.
Yeah.
I will stretch that further and say, theoretically, you can live on takeaways, right? You can always, so why do you even need to cook if you can always order specifically the meal you want, right? But a lot of people will still say, I really enjoy a home-cooked meal cooked by my partner, right?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I think that means something.
I mean, some men would say the helper's not going to cook, even though she can cook.
Yes.
I want my wife to cook.
It's my partner's cooking.
But she's working hard hours, long hours.
It's not every day.
Women work long hours every day.
No, I'm saying the expectation on the cooking.
No, okay, so the extreme traditional man. So what happens is when they're dating, from my experience, okay, it can be different. When they're dating, the men do not tell the woman how traditional they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until they're married.
Until they get married.
And so when they, in my session for about 7 years later, 5 to 7 to 10 even, I would tell the wife, can you listen to what he's just said now?
Yeah.
You have married a traditional man.
Yeah.
And she said, really? When we were dating for years, he wasn't a traditional man.
Now suddenly he is.
Now he's traditional.
Yeah.
And it's always compromise. Marriage is about compromise.
Yeah.
And partnership is about compromise. Yeah. So if the woman is not wanting to bring you the bowl, the soapy water with your cloth, it's lovely, isn't it? But maybe you can negotiate and say, well, when you go home and you're the makoti, can you then do that for me?
At
can
home.
You do that
can
at home?
Can you at least do it at home?
At least at home. So that's a compromise.
When we come back here,
you don't have time. You don't have time. I've got to take care of the kids. The kids have to be washed. There's schoolwork to be done. I've got work to be done. I've got to check emails. And then I still have to carry a bowl of water. So
the suicide in men is when they feel like there's no respect and
no, that's not actually the reason why. Yeah. The reason is when they've done exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Yeah.
We've heard of a case recently of somebody that's in the news.
Yeah.
That committed suicide because of millions of rands.
Yeah.
That's been lost. I think shame.
Yes.
Men want to feel respected and they don't want to feel shame.
Yeah.
And I think when they feel that they have disappointed their family and they've harmed their family.
Yeah.
But most of the time, when people feel suicidal, it's when they feel there's no hope. So usually people that are suicidal suffer depression.
Yeah.
And when you suffer depression, you can't think ahead of goals and implementations and planning goals. Depression pulls you inward.
Yeah.
And one of the symptoms of depression is self-worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Low self-worth.
Low self-worth, yes.
And that is when and then something like this happens as well on top of that depression, disorder of depression. That is when it exacerbates.
Yeah.
And you're not able to think positive. So somebody suffers depression, you say, hey, next year, guess what? You're going to be the top journalist. It's not going to work. If you're suffering from depression, you cannot cognitively change. You cannot cognitively change. And sometimes, partners would say, just get over this. I mean, next year, we're going to work through this and it's going to be in a much better place.
Yeah.
They cannot see that.
Can't see that.
They cannot see it. So depression is a very serious disorder.
Yeah.
You
mentioned men and commitment. I want to get back to that. So what's the issue? Why are men scared of commitment? Or are men scared of commitment?
Men don't like commitment.
Why?
Men's main first desire is,
the
men's first desire is to become successful.
Yeah.
They grow up to be successful.
Yeah.
I want to be successful. I want to earn money. That's their dream. Very few men dream to get married. Right?
That's very interesting.
And the woman that's a whole package. Yes, I want to be successful, but I also want to be a wife and I want to have children. So these days it's not that main, the dream of getting married is not as significant as before. But that is how we grow up as girls and how we dream of that. So men, when they don't feel that they're financially ready, they are not going to be inclined because they've got to think, gosh, how much is Lebolo? How much do you think it's going to be? 100,000?
So they need to be
convinced. So Lebolo is going to be
100,000
in the city.
Yeah.
It's going to be, the part is going to be how much?
Yeah.
200,000. And then you start. So it means I'm going to be set back and then I want to be the successful person. I want to study. I want to do 1, 2, 3. And I think that not all men, but yes, that is what happens.
So commitment, they have to be convinced to commit. I mean,
they have to feel that it's viable. This is viable.
This is also why maybe fat and set is not helpful, right? So like the idea of living together before marriage, I mean, are those some of the things that then don't help this getting to commitment? Because you
think any partnership you want to build.
Yeah.
Any partnership, you want to know, am I going to get poorer with this person? Or am I going to excel and become successful with this person?
Yeah.
Besides the love, yes, she's amazing, she's lovable, she can cook, she can do my favorite foods. But men see success.
Yeah.
And men see how it might not be financial success, but how can I be respected?
Yes.
Way forward.
But is that not, Dr. M, is that not part of the problem? Because there's another theory I came across. Just give me half a minute and I will try and summarize it. Right? So, and I think it touches on some of the elements that you have touched on, including men's, expectations of respect and all of that. The theory goes something along these lines: is part of the problem with as women become more successful, right? They have their own money, they can buy their own house, buy their own car. Because those are the things that society say women used to look for in men, right? Women who have these things, I assume men look for same things in women, except the only people who are looking for those things as men, you call them what? The economic terrorists. What did you call them?
Economic abusers. That's completely different.
That's completely, absolutely.
That is like a physical abuser.
Absolutely. I want to come back to that.
Economic abuser.
So therefore, these things that are attractive to a woman when they are in a man, many women, the theory is they think when I have achieved those things, why am I not attractive to men? Because women look for this thing, so therefore men should not. But then it turns,
women are looking for faithfulness.
Absolutely. But it turned out the theory is men are looking for different things. They're looking for virtue. They're looking for
money.
Well, that's the economic abusers. Yeah. I'm not talking about the abusers. We can come back to the abusers. Respect and things like that, right? So the things that you are bringing that says, no, but I'm bringing the money, I'm bringing this. That's not what the man is looking for, right? Now, a woman in society traditionally would have looked up to a man who comes up with those things. So you are able to provide, you're able to get us a home, so we have this disconnect where the two parties are not looking for the same things, but each one of them wants to hold on to their position to say, oh, well, this is my position. Get on and live with it.
And so
how's relationships?
So that is important when you're dating.
Yeah.
Is to start talking about expectations.
That's right.
What do I expect from you?
Yeah.
You know, I performed well over the years. I'm a top manager. I'm a CEO. I don't need the similar, but this is what I need.
This is what yes.
Or the guy would say, look, I can live with you. I can live with someone that earns double my salary.
Yeah.
I can live with you. I can live with that.
Yeah.
But I would need from you to discuss everything with me because I still feel I'm the man.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want you as the partner or the wife to rock up with a car and boast about it.
But,
just because it's
but
just
do
because
women
you're
accept
working,
that?
Just because you're working, and you're earning more than me, I would like you to discuss it with me. I'm your partner, I'm your husband.
Yeah.
I also want you to say, hey, what car would work for me?
Yeah.
That's what a man wants to be part of, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be part of not just providing financial, but providing guidance in terms of what he's good at.
Yeah.
I'm good at cars. I know what would be the best car for you and what would suit you. You're asking someone else. You're asking your colleague about cars and you're buying your own car.
Yeah.
Our relationship is about, can you discuss it with me?
Yeah. Because that's the respect element,
yes,
right?
That's the respect. So if you don't discuss it with me, why?
Or it is received as respect by men, right?
Yes, and respect will differ from person to person.
Absolutely.
And therefore it's important to discuss what respect is for that person.
Yeah.
So for example, you know, a Xhosa and a colored woman, right? If they overhear their husband talking about a bakkie, right? They're not going to keep quiet.
Yeah.
They're not going to say. They're going to show their faces, wow.
Yeah.
Even if he's lying about the bakkie, you know, he just wants to, you know, show he's coming on, he's getting better. And the wife would actually say, wow, I would like to see that bakkie.
Yeah.
Oh, when you bring in the bakkie, and it's very embarrassing for the man. So most men would not say something that the woman would. So for a colored woman, for example, she won't see it as disrespectful. Just don't make up stories in front of me. Just, what must I do?
Yeah.
Whereas another, for example, let's say a vendor, gogo, is not allowed to really chat, right, into the conversation of the male. They're not allowed to. That gogo will just have a straight face, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can look and okay, he's actually got one of the best, but you shouldn't be able to give it away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite interesting.
It's interesting. So that is respectful for her. It's disrespectfful
absolutely.
For another race or another character of person.
Yes.
And this character can be in any race.
And
in any culture, I would say. So what I'm talking about is not just Xhosa. It could be any other Zulu.
Could be.
Or
But
Zulu woman
hence
as
the
well.
need for communication and clarity of expectations upfront.
So that's disrespectful. How dare you? Then the woman will say, but you've been disrespectful to talk in front of me about stuff that we don't own.
Yeah. Should we be still trying to do relationships and marriage? I mean, given these circumstances? I mean, that's the question, right? Maybe there is no longer a space for marriage in the sense that we understand it.
Lots of couples get married without tools and skills. How to deal with conflict and how to deal with differences. And society today, the couples today, have a lot more challenges than 30 years ago. 30 years ago, we know the man brings the bacon. The man makes the decision whether you want what color couch. Right? He comes from Johannesburg. He works in the mine. He goes home.
He rocks up with the couch.
He rocks up with the couch. The woman is starting to say, I'm the wife. How dare you come with the black couch?
Yeah.
No, those
it's
are accepted. I'm happy. You know, I'm happy. But it was clear cut then of what the role of the wife was and what the role of the husband. And now with divorce and breakups of families, and the roles are not as clear. because mom's leaving because of 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that should not happen. And then another person, their mom left because of 1, 2, 3. So we're not really sure.
Yeah.
You know and it's very difficult to clear roles. And that is why it's important to find the skills to deal with the differences.
Yeah.
How to deal with conflict. How to deal with. So from my research, I did my PhD in marriage. Research has shown that couples are diagnosed with depression because they don't have skills.
Yeah.
So they're fighting, the one having to win. Instead of trying to win the relationship, trying to win the argument.
Yeah.
They're trying to win, and they're exhausting each other.
Yeah.
And they're not finding a middle ground. I'm working all day. I'm singing to the kids. You're just sitting there on your phone watching TikTok. Not the newspaper anymore. It's not TikTok.
Yeah.
30 years ago was the man with the newspaper.
Absolutely.
And so it's continuously fighting in such a way, conflict continuously, that they become exhausted.
But why should people still get married? What is the case for marriage?
It's for both. I mean, even if you live together.
Yeah, well, even if you're not married,
together,
the fact that you
you're
live
going
with
to break
someone,
up.
you're going to
break
absolutely.
up.
So,
but some people have family values, and some people have religious values, which is saying we want God as the head of the home, and we want the husband, and we want the wife, and we want family. That's important. That we have this one bond, and we have one family together. The nuclear family, the core family. I've never had it. The one would say, my mom got divorced. I want family. I want family values. So it's really what the person need and want.
And we are seeing people either not getting married or getting married very late. I mean, I would tell you that when I grew up, if you were a guy and you were in your late 30s and you were not married, the family started to talk about how can they help and intervene, and the uncles can get involved. But today, it's actually there's no one is surprised if you are even in your mid to late 40s and you're not even talking about marriage. The other thing I want to tell you about the village experience when you're talking about commitment is one of the things, according to the old people in villages, that used to drive people to commitment is exposure to many people was limited. So you grew up in a village, there are only so many girls, and if you don't choose one and commit to one very quickly, then that's your loss, because there are only so many people in the village. So today, that has been exploded 1,000,000 times because not only because of city life, but also because of technology. Because today, there are dating apps that allow you to find a partner, not only within your village or within your city, not even within your country. You can say, I'm looking for a person who's American and all of that. All of those things erode a need for commitment. Like, why should I commit when there are so many options? It's choice.
There's more. The man
the whole
more,
theory
more
that
than one woman.
Yeah, when you've got more choices, actually, it's harder to make a decision. Which is, and I guess this is why I keep on saying, is there still a case for marriage? Because I want to move to kids, because when this dysfunction comes with relationships, it gets worse when there are kids involved.
It does, and it does affect children mentally and emotionally. Some children excel. They hide in their books. So it's their escape. Books are their escape, and they excel. But when you live in a very toxic environment, not everybody knows how to escape. And it does affect children's concentration. The continuous fight, and sometimes parents think, they're not hearing, but children hear. They can hear. They walk past a bedroom and they hear what the fights are about. It's continuous fighting. And what happens is, what affects children emotionally is when moms make children their confidant. Because children are dealing with things that are very huge, and then their brain is not developed to deal with that. And that affects them emotionally. That creates anger towards the person they are talking about. And I would always rather suggest that parents find help somewhere else, find an
Yeah.
aunt or see a psychologist, because the kids are not able to cope with that and with the
Yeah.
emotions that comes with that.
Yeah.
It's very overwhelming. And even if you're a single mom, you tend to tell the children, your
Yeah.
dad is 1, 2, 3, or your mom's 1, 2, 3, and it affects them and it affects their identity.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why children can become depressed, but can I explain to the other reasons why they could suffer depression is when you're an average academic child.
Yeah.
Sometimes parents believe if I place this child in a very good private school, he should up his game. You will be able to up his game.
Yeah.
And we need to be realistic that a very expensive private school demands more.
Yeah.
And if you're not academically strong, it's going to
be a challenge.
It's going to be too much for you.
Yeah.
And you will have mood. Will have a mood. You will feel overwhelmed. You will feel anxiety.
Yeah.
It does affect you psychologically.
Yeah.
If you're there was one child. I used to work with children. I don't work with them anymore. The child said, "Well, we only get awards once we've got 70%."
Yeah.
And I was thinking, you only get awards when you're 70% and over. She says, at school don't give you other awards. And now you have an average academic performer.
Yeah.
They don't have little incentives for you to get better.
Yeah.
You already know I'm out of the game.
Yeah.
It's like a coach telling the soccer boy,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can be part of this team, right? You can sit
But you'll never
you
make
can
the
exercise.
cut. Yeah.
But you're not going to be a soccer player one day. Whereas
Yeah.
a coach would put little incentives in for you to improve
Yeah.
and get better at your game.
Yeah.
The school is not.
Yeah.
And so so when you start feeling at a school, you start feeling that I'm out of the game.
Yeah.
How does a child feel when they're out of the game?
Yeah.
And when there's award evenings, you know your mom's not going to go up.
Yeah.
So when you place an average academic student in a very highly stressful school,
Yeah.
that does affect mental health. Then you also find the other is now you have a child that's a high performer at school, first, second in class. That at that school, that is a fish tank.
Yeah.
University is the ocean.
Yeah.
And that parents still believe you must be one of the top students.
Yeah.
And the performance, and lots of students, I see more varsity students, lots of varsity students are saying, Merlyn, I am trying to cope. I don't have this teacher that's on my back.
Yeah.
I don't have a lecturer that's guiding me through.
To do this.
I have to do this on my own. And I'm trying to survive alone. They are talking about 80% and 70%. I am trying to survive.
Are you seeing growing levels of depression then
From university students, yes. I don't see children anymore, but I used to see
from
the children.
universities?
Yes. It's because
and when you used to see children, this was also...
Similarly, it was more cases of mom placing me in a school that I can't
how
cope.
Are they then?
Mom and dad, yeah.
So that's growing. And then you add social media on top of that.
Social stresses, name. And shaming, name shaming.
But also, name shaming, bullying.
Bullying, cyber.
Instagram, TikTok, lack of sleep.
Yeah, I think what the children have to cope with now is...
It's a lot.
It's a lot compared to 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know.
So we seem to have a couple of challenges. One is men and women can't seem to find each other. Then there is children in the middle.
That feel helpless.
And
hopeless.
Yeah.
Because mom is not listening.
Yeah.
And they mean well.
But also mom
mean well and dad means well. But
they're busy.
They're just not hearing you. I am drowning at the school.
Why are there so many kids diagnosed with ADD and have to go on Ritalin?
So ADD could be, as usual, similar to a mental health issue. Neurotransmitters, but it could also be related to trauma.
Yeah.
So you would find a lot of children with ADHD. It's not usually, it's trauma related. And once you deal with the trauma, they'll be fine. It's not always related to the fact that you need medication.
But do you see it as, because at some point, it's a bit like at some point, doctors overprescribed antibiotics, right? What's your sense? I mean, is it not overdiagnosis if there's a word like that?
Yeah, a few years ago, I've heard of teachers that are forcing kids to go onto ADHD because they have 50 children in a class and they can't cope
with the energy of kids being kids.
So they're asking parents to put them on on meds.
And I also heard that the same meds then also became popular among university students because they helped with concentration
and memory, because it's anxiety related. So ADHD, and adults are more ADD, attention deficit disorder. Children are hyperactive.
ADHD.
Yes, ADD. So yes, it does help them with concentration. It's anxiety, and it helps with anxiety as well.
So our primary focus is profit because really we can't try and understand everyone's issues. But
absolutely,
but these people show up as human beings. And then they get to a working place, and we're talking about, or in business, expectations on women, which maybe men may not necessarily have adjusted to, but also expectations of men out of women, which is often things like respect and we have to find each other. But this has got deep implications for relationships. And I think one of the challenges, and a number of people have shared views on this, that traditionally women have wanted a man they can look up to, right? Whatever the criteria is. Now you're going to have to tell me if that's what you're seeing. And as more women achieve their own success, some of the issues will be men are intimidated by my pay or all of that, whatever.
There are men that are intimidated.
Are you seeing more successful women that are able to make a relationship work with a man that, for simple terms, not make as much money as they do? Are they still able to look up to that man? And
because you don't have to look up to money. Is not the only aspect of looking up to a man.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying.
I had a couple. It's an African couple, and she was already on top. I mean, she just needed a few more years, and she was. He was still trying to get there, and then they decided they have a little boy. He's got a sports background. Right. The husband, and they said, okay, how about you be at home? Start your little hustle, hustle the man. And then you at his soccer games, you at his coach games, and we try and focus on the health part and the sports part. That's what mommies can't do, even if they were at home, is really to build that. So he had a gift. Dad had a background of sports. This little boy has potential. And that's what they've decided. The challenge he had was that her family would come into the house, how it is with in-laws, and tell him, well, this is my sister's house. They were nasty.
Wow.
But I think both of them were very, one-minded about the choice. And they both would sit down and talk to the family and say, look, if you're going to continue with this behavior, you're not going to be welcome here because he's working as well. He's a side hustle. He worked all the years in a job. And this man is important to me. She can look up to him. Can you see that? It's not necessarily money. It is the role that he's playing to help her. And the role she's playing to help him. That is important in a relationship.
They both have a role, right? So
they both have a role.
Because if a man is able to afford a 3-bedroom house in the township, but the woman's salary can afford a house in one of the fancy suburbs anywhere in any of the cities in South Africa, I'm sure many men will struggle with the idea of moving away from the township because you talked about respect. Because the rest of the family and friends know that you don't afford to be in this fancy suburb, right? So then you are stuck with this issue. Does the family stay in the township? Do they move to the suburbs? And that requires work from both partners, clearly. And this is not, decision you make secretly. They have implications because they have implications for where you live, what car you drive. how, and I want to use the last few minutes to start to look for not necessarily solutions, but at least the skills required to be able to navigate all these difficult challenges. What can men and women do out there to get better?
The main skill is to listen.
Yeah.
To be able to listen. So sometimes we are listening to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? So say, for example, a woman says, you know what, you are absolutely good for nothing, you're not supportive, blah, blah, blah. If he can listen without taking it personal, it's tough. It's what we call shame resilience.
Yeah.
Okay, this is shaming.
Yeah.
And men don't like to be shamed.
Yeah.
Right? Shame resilience, it's her reality. I don't believe it. I don't believe that I am that.
Yeah.
It's her reality. First, understand it's her reality.
Yeah.
It's not yours.
Yeah.
So don't defend it. It's how she's feeling.
Yeah.
And then for her to know that you're listening is to repeat, not verbatim, but
for the man to
show the woman I'm listening.
Yes.
Is just to paraphrase and say, this is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
You're saying that I am good for nothing, that I'm not helping you.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you. It takes a lot for a man to say, I'm hearing you, and how can we do this better? Because as a partner, it is, how can we do this better?
Absolutely. What can women do? Because that's what men can do.
I think similarly is that they also need to listen, and it's both.
Yeah.
To be able to listen and say, this man says I'm not a good wife. I mean, you know how hard I'm working, I'm trying this, I'm trying that. Is to sit and say, I'm hearing what you're saying.
Yeah.
But what would you want me to do?
Yeah.
And then negotiate it. So if he says, no, I want you to be at home at 6.
Yeah.
To be a good wife. Then you can negotiate and say, this is not possible. I cannot be at home at 6 every day.
Yeah.
But let's see, maybe on a Tuesday and a Thursday, I'll be home by 6 or 5.
Yeah.
It is the ability to negotiate. It's the ability to say, you know what, this is your reality and this is mine. I don't agree with it.
What's your view on 50-50? Because I mean, so these conversations, they then shift to conversations on 50-50 and a growing number of basically the anti-mutual contracts that says I'm actually protecting myself from you. You better also be protecting yourselves from me. And I'm not too sure those things are neutral. They have implications for relationships.
We need to understand that 50-50 doesn't always work when you have life challenges.
Yeah.
When the man is ill.
Yeah.
And he has a chronic illness.
Yeah.
That he's not able to give you the 50-50 that you need.
Yeah.
But so what can we do with what you have?
That's right.
And can I live with that?
Yeah.
So life challenges throws you, when you're young and you're just married, 50-50 works, like 50 with a meal.
Yeah.
It's 50-50 with a meal. It's 50-50 with a rent.
Yeah.
But as you grow older, there are life challenges in marriages.
They're much more important.
And you can't get divorced with every life challenge that comes your way.
Absolutely.
Just because it's being able to push through that challenge and to work through it, because maybe in 6 months' time, we can go back to 50-50.
Yeah.
But it's very rare that you can be realistic and say, I can give you 50, can you give 50? It's not always the case.
But the relationships already start with a view of, I want to protect my assets from you, and you're
talking about without accrual, anti-nuptial without accrual?
Yeah. I mean, that surely has got implications for relationships.
So that is what I was talking about, men marrying for the benefit of success.
Yeah.
So if you're marrying to share...
Why do you even go into that relationship if you cannot trust this person to, perhaps there's a lot more conversations that need to happen.
But Jan, you're living in a reality.
Yeah.
That people are fearing divorce. You're living in that reality.
Yeah.
Before 30 years ago, it was more... People used to push you to stay.
But they shouldn't marry.
So if you were 30, 40 years ago and you need to divorce the family, say, no. You've made your bed. Go and sleep on it. Now you would find a single woman who's going to get married. She would say, I've actually put my furniture in storage.
But that's what I'm saying.
I said, why are you putting your... Because what if he divorces me and I have to buy furniture again?
But if you are preparing for marriage... for divorce, why are you getting married? Oh, I mean, I'm taking an extreme view, but this is why I kept on saying, is there still a case for marriage?
Because there is, in any case, whether you're living together, it's the same thing.
Yes.
It's you're building.
So we're going to need contracts. We're going to need accrual contracts even for relationships, even before marriage.
But marriage is more stability.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you safer. It makes you feel safer, and
it's a good environment for
and
kids.
It's environment to build
absolutely.
and for lifelong generations. It's actually good.
Oh, Dr. M, we can go on for a very long time. I just want to thank you for your time. I think some of this we can unpack further. I just wanted to take a high-level view of what the issues are, so that as we engage more and more with South Africans, and we want everyone to do better, we all can do better. Part of it comes from tackling these difficult conversations, especially in relationships. People are going to have to open up more to talk and express their expectations and from their partners. I want to thank you for your time. Where do people find you? You said your practice is in Midrand.
Yes, it's in Midrand. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much for your time.
And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Dr. M. Thank you very much. That was our episode today. You are human. You know, you need to be looking after yourself. You cannot only just show up as a worker, an employee, a business owner. You are a partner. You're human. You're a father. Please look after yourself. We are seeing a growing trend of mental wellness issues. But many of those things start with talking to someone. And if you are in a relationship, just learn the art of sharing how you feel with your partner and what are your expectations from that. And because as we have established from this conversation, the expectations may not necessarily be the same. And it starts with talking to each other. That was it for our episode today. We look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Be good, be great, do great. See you at the next episode. Thanks, Dr. M.
Thank you.